And we're live. Welcome everybody here to the Lakers Lounge. I'm Anthony Irwin, joined now for the last time this season in a post-game appearance by Raj Chapalu. Raj, I'm not going to lie. This one stings quite a bit because, yeah, the Lakers got swept. And, yeah, Denver, was the amount better that you need to be to sweep another team, right? Like, they're clearly a pretty noticeably and notably better team than the Lakers, right? 1 seed versus 7 seed. It turns out all that whining about the Lakers or the Nuggets being an underdog or whatever looks all the more ridiculous now. But even given that, the Lakers were competitive in every single game. Mm-hmm. I thought for sure when Denver took I think did the lead get up to double digits in Denver's favor? I don't think it did, but it got up to 7.
8.
It was like 5 or 7. Yeah, maybe 8. I thought for sure it was going to be a 1-2-3 Cancun kind of situation. Then Tristan Thompson gets that dunk, the and one dunk that it really got the crowd going, right? He winds up missing the free throw and all that stuff because that's kind of what Tristan Thompson does. But it was the kind of dunk that it really, he was yelling at the crowd. He was telling everybody get up, get up, get up, right? Mm-hmm. But I really wish after he would have dunked it, he would have just looked at AD and be like, "See, do you see?
I knew that's
what you can do here. Did you see what you are capable of?" I don't know how many times, and we'll talk about AD. We got to start probably with LeBron, and I guess I'll move on quickly from this. But I don't know how many times that, AD either missed a layup altogether or missed it and got a foul called, but it should have probably been an and one. It was just, he didn't compete for most of the game, and it was a real bummer to see that. But I don't want to start on a negative. There's going to be plenty of time for that talk. We have to give all due respect to LeBron, the 38-year-old. Is he 38 still? He is, right? I think he turns 39 in August, next right? Mm-hmm.
December. Mm-hmm. But yeah.
December, yeah. In the middle of the season. Is Kobe August? I think Kobe's August, right? Or is that just Kobe Day? I forget.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I don't remember.
But yeah, LeBron plays all but 5 seconds of this game, was clearly exhausted down the stretch of the game, right? Clearly wiped. It was so stupid to keep on hearing Jeff Van Gundy and Mark Jackson be like, "Why isn't he touching the ball? Why isn't he touching the ball? Why doesn't he touch the ball on every single possession?" It's like, well, if he does touch the ball in every single possession, there is no reason to have Dennis Schroeder out there. And how the hell are you going to ignore the fact that this guy is in his 47th minute in this thing? Yeah. But that's what it took, right? That's what it was going to take to be competitive against a significantly better Denver Nuggets team. And he took the Lakers, I think, about as far as they could have gone.
He was amazing tonight, and yeah, the 48 minutes. I thought it was a weird look, Anthony.
That's what I thought. I thought it was 8:23, and then you have Kobe Day, which is 8:24.
Right? Yeah, but yeah, he plays 48 minutes, and I thought it was a weird look. Not to go back to the point you were making, but that Anthony Davis was getting 4-minute rest. He was getting 4-minute rest intervals while LeBron was playing the whole game. I thought that was just a really strange look, or how that was going. AD finishes with 40 minutes, but he was amazing. 15 for 25. I thought he did enough. Not to put the blame pie around, but he had 21 in the first quarter. I think he had 30 by halftime. And he had us up 13 at halftime. Your team should be able to come through. He pulled us up 13. Second half, Denver comes back on their run, but 15 for 25, 4 for 7 from 3, 40, 10, and 9 for him. And also, that doesn't even show how hard he was defending. They had him on Jokic, a ton of possessions. He was switching on Jamal Murray, moving his feet, getting shot clock violations, being physical down low. He was just amazing. And it was great to see him at least have one of these games. You knew he wouldn't go out quietly and not to move to next season, but it was good to watch LeBron be able to still dip his hand into his tank and bring this out. Because I thought it was important to see that, and he did. And Lake, I thought there was some questionable stuff late in the game where I thought he used up too much clock. I thought playing Dennis and Rui together, which was our best lineup, but I thought that kind of hurt. Denver was more than okay with those two guys shooting threes,
Yeah.
and they were right about that. And I thought Austin should have been involved more, but I can't hate on anything he did tonight. Do you want him to attack the rim a little bit more? Yeah, but Aaron Gordon's kind of bodying him up. And the only guy you can attack is really Jamal Murray, and that's Dennis Schroeder setting the screen. Dennis missed like so many layups at the rim. I thought Austin did. I thought Rui did as well. But that was just a phenomenal performance from LeBron. I have nothing bad to say about him.
Yeah, I mean, like there are nits to pick, right? Like there were some decisions that he could have made. Like, Jokic got switched out onto him in space, and Jokic had 5 fouls, and he was sitting there like pointing and directing everybody to go, and it's like, no. the only pointing that needs to be done is like at Jokic, like, all right, I'm dribbling at your chest right now, But even that feels nonsensical, to be completely honest. Like, that is such a small complaint, and yeah, it was a clear complaint, and it was like a clear, like, weird decision on his part, but it's still, he was absolutely wiped. They showed him he had a stop on Jamal Murray, and like Murray was complaining that he didn't get a foul call, like because he thought LeBron hit him upside the head, and like LeBron was trying to tell Murray, like, I got you, but he was like, he had his hands on his knees. And again, it's a 38-year-old LeBron James playing 48 minutes in 55 seconds, or 47 minutes and 55 seconds. In the first half, he actually attempted, he made more threes than he attempted, right? Because he technically had a pass go in. Like, there was nothing more you could realistically ask of LeBron in this one. And that's what makes, like, Anthony Davis's performance so infuriating. Like, it was so maddening to see him just, like, play after play after play on offense, do the whole, like, try to get his shoulder in there and try to swipe through and try to get a call, rather than just like going on dunking on a whole bunch of people who are either smaller or less athletic than he is. And you watch LeBron and you watch even Rui and the way that they were attacking the rim, and I guess they have better foot speed than AD, and I guess that needs to be taken into account. But those guys were driving into Jokic's chest. They were forcing him to try to have to, like, flail at the ball or just give it up, because he knew if he tried to challenge them playing that way, he's going to pick up fouls. And then you watch, it's just, the two main stories coming out of this one, well, I guess 3. The number one story here is that Denver is better, right? The number one story in this series and in this game is that, like, just Denver is just better. All respect to them. Yeah, I fired off a couple, tweets after the game, because in the first, like, there needs to be like a grace period, right?
Right.
10 minutes where you can send whatever, like, anything not offensive for 10 minutes as you cope with the fact that your team season just ended, and then you can get back to making, like, more sensible points. But really, all respect in the world to them. Like, you look at the ways that they won in this series and the guys who stepped up at various points in this series. Aaron Gordon steps up and knocks down, felt like 15 threes in this one, and knocks down big free throws when, for most of the series, he looked afraid to shoot, KCP had his moments over the course of this one. Bruce Brown had his moments. Obviously, Jamal Curry and Nikola Jokic is one of the most special players I have ever seen. I thought, because he had the one, like, Sambor Shuffle 3 that, he made that one. And then he was, like, pinned up against the sideline and he goes to do it again. And I'm like, no! We can't give him that shot. We can't give him a sidestepping 1-footed turnaround 3-pointer. Like, how special a player has to be for you to be nervous about him shooting that in that moment. So, like, I really think, like, we had it, and we'll keep going back to the LeBron thing here over the course of the show. But I do really think at the top of the show, or as close to the top of the show as we can, you have to give all the credit in the world to this Denver team. They were fucking unbelievable.
They were monsters. Like, they killed us. And I remember we went up 13, and I was thinking there's going to be a point in this third where Denver makes a run. And they did. They cut it to like 9. And I was like, this is the game right here. Like if you can wall them off right here, then you have a good chance. And not only did they make a run, they went up like 4. KCP got an and one. And they really never relinquished the lead. To me, the game was lost. AD had a dunk on the other end, and then he fouled Jamal Murray, from 3.
For 3.
For a 3. Yeah, and I thought that just really killed our momentum. But give them credit. Jokic hit every clock going down. We have a little bit of a momentum. They hit the step back. He hits a step back 3. Jamal Murray, every single time we make a run, it's get out of the way. Jamal Murray, Jokic pick and roll, and he got a basket. He went over the top of Schroeder if it was Dennis on him. Went around Vanderbilt if it was him. Vanderbilt did not play tonight, but during the series went around him. And he was a monster. Like today was like a low-key Jamal Murray game, and I think he still dropped 30. Like that's how good Jamal Murray's been in this series.
Did Jokic win the Western Conference MVP?
I'm not sure. I decided not to continue viewing.
I was setting up for the show. I don't think he should have. Because you could actually bet on that over the course of the series. I think Murray was the MVP in the series. I mean, Jokic had his moments, and don't get me wrong, it's close. But I for my money, Jokic had an entire stretch from the third quarter of game, was it 2 through most of game 3 that
didn't do much.
He scored 20 points over the course of 5 quarters or something like that. So I don't know. I look, it's close either way. I guess you could call it a coin flip or whatever, but for those who bet on Jamal Murray, I would want to hear from the voters, hey, why exactly? Why
look at his numbers, Anthony? It's absurd. I mean,
he is incredible, but look at Murray's too.
No, I'm looking at Jamal Murray's.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I thought you were saying Jokic's
no.
numbers,
15 for 29, and tonight was a low-key 10 for 18. Didn't even hit a three-pointer tonight, by the way.
Yeah, low-key. It's the best shooting performance D'Angelo Russell has ever had in the playoffs.
Oh, no, that's too soon. Too soon. We're giving Denver credit here. Too soon to go into the D'Angelo Russell conversation, I guess. No, Jamal Murray stepped up to me. 43 minutes for him. And what he actually did to connect D'Angelo Russell here, he makes D'Angelo Russell unplayable, right? And that's so tough. I was watching, we're swinging the ball to Dennis Schroeder, and then he's trying to swing into Austin Reeves, and they're not even closing out to him. They're already closing to Austin in the corner. And that, that was one of our last plays of the game. But Jamal Murray was awesome, man. He looked like all that bubble Murray stuff. That's real. There was, we're not in the bubble anymore.
Yeah, all the bubble takes are stupid. They're over. That's done.
Yeah, exactly.
All the stars who everybody said played over their heads in the bubble. Teams go on runs because their stars play really well. And those teams that went on runs in the bubble because their stars played really well, those stars, after they had the ability to recover and having more time than 5 business days to recover from an entire more than a year-long NBA season. Now that they've fully recovered, the same 4 teams are in the Western Conference and the Eastern Conference Finals, and you have Jimmy Butler continuing to play as incredibly as he has. You have Jokic doing and what he's doing. Jamal Murray, same thing. LeBron and Anthony Davis also showed up.
Oh man, yeah. So I don't know if this makes you feel better or worse or how. Or we can take this any way we can. But so they swept us, and you just went into how great Jamal Murray, in your mind, outplayed Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic was also generational. They outscored us by 24 points in the series. 4 games, we got outscored by 24 points. So you were close, but close doesn't really count. At least not in this sport. I forgot what sport it counts in, but yeah. But I've heard the saying. I just forgot this.
Maybe soccer, maybe soccer, where you have the point system.
Horseshoe.
There you go. Horseshoes does matter. Yes, horseshoes matter. That's the saying. Bocce ball. Neither of which are actually sports.
Never played horseshoe. I actually have no idea where.
No way.
Yeah, where would you play horseshoes? I'm not even sure. But anyway, so they, we were close. They outscored us by 24 in the series, and even with Anthony Davis having his struggles, with D'Angelo Russell unable to shoot or defend, and then Jokic and Jamal Murray going off, and Aaron Gordon hitting threes. So we're closer than it was, and that makes you maybe feel better or feel worse. But Denver's really good, and I think that's a good sign that even though it was a sweep, and that's what it's going to go down as, but this series was one of the closer sweeps that I've seen, that I've seen in recent memories. So But yeah, give them
Don't
all the
tweet
credit.
that. Don't.
No, I'm not. No. Oh man, will I get the homer? Will I get the homer badge doing that?
Under no, like, you keep tweeting about NBA ratings. Do not
Yeah.
tweet that it was a close sweep.
Well, if you look at it closely,
Yeah, right. It was only 24 points over the course of 4 games. But yeah, I would say, yeah, look, a 1 seed is supposed to sweep a 7 seed, right? Like a 1 seed is supposed to sweep an 8 seed. And
we're doing that.
well, but it is like, I mean,
Yeah.
people want to say that the Lakers were this like altogether different team, and they were, because like compared to like the beginning of the season, they were one of the worst teams I have ever seen. Like they would not be in the playoffs if they were anything close to that team, because that team was fucking garbage. But this team though, like this team was a lot more competitive, a lot more resilient, and like I said in last night's lowdown, they competed in this one, and I thought that they would win. Apologies, Avery, you're not, because of the way this series went, you were not getting donuts for a long time, but like I thought that the Lakers would win this one, and I for damn sure knew that they were not going to go out the way that Boston appears to be going out against Miami. Right? Yeah. They have been super resilient all year. It takes incredible character and fortitude to enter a season with Russell Westbrook on the team, and not specifically because Russell Westbrook is so difficult to be around, but because like it's a move that everybody knew had to be made, right? So you have that in the air all year, that stink, sitting there in your locker room all year. And you go from that to, I guess you enter training camp with that. That's sitting there all training camp. You start the season with him on the team with 73 other small guards, and you're just like, it was a farce. Like the beginning of the season and frankly, most of this season, regular season that is, was a farce. It just felt nonsensical to continue to bash your head up against the wall and hope that would work out. So that, the guys that stuck around, right, that were still on the team beyond the trade deadline, LeBron, AD, Schroeder, Reeves, Wenyen. There's like a couple more. Troy Brown Jr., Lonnie Walker, right? Those guys, like, to go through the entire season that they did and just kind of try to drive the sled through the mud in the way that they were trying to, and then immediately make a run in the way that they did when the trades were made, right? That the team got so much better immediately. They were beating the crap out of teams when they had their full rotation. And then after that, you get the Draymond Green kick straight to the nuts, because you're like, oh, yeah, now we're going to lose LeBron for a month. Great. Yeah. And then after that, like, while you're trying to deal with the LeBron thing, you had D'Angelo Russell like in and out and mostly out, right? And yet the Lakers still fought to stay in this season and still fought to get into the play-in, unlike those losers in Dallas, right? Like the Lakers, like, they still kept competing, unlike the losers in Portland and all these other loser organizations out there that just decided, nope, we aren't competing. We just don't want to. And the Lakers at least went for it. And then not only did they go for it, but they made good on going for it, right? They won 2 playoff series. They beat the 2 seed. They beat the reigning champions, right? And then you run into a buzzsaw. And I really think that's what Denver is they're just a really effing good team. And yeah, there is no reason whatsoever for anybody other than maybe Anthony Davis to hang their head tonight.
Yeah, I knew that's how that was going to end. No, like, so this team has been playing playoff basketball since the middle of February, really. Like, we were in 13th place. You talked about LeBron going out as soon as really the trade happened. Anthony Davis having to carry that team with his defense. Remember, he sat against Houston, Anthony, and we lost that game. Like, that's how valuable he was defensively. And I know this series is not going to go up on his wall or his fridge or wherever he puts his awards and things he's proud of. But I hope that's not all he's remembered for, because those first 2 series he was an absolute monster on defense, and we are nowhere near here without that. And even with this series, right? People are, going to look at he didn't guard Jokic. Well, that's because like there's no one who we can put on Jokic. Like we had to put Rui Hachimura on him so that he can roam, and he did not come through on offense. He was not good enough. Like that's a clear statement that should be said. Anthony Davis was not good enough offensively. 6 for 15 tonight, just not physically imposing enough on a team and on a team that really needed it. But I thought, throughout the season, he was great, and especially defensively with it. It's exactly what this team needed. LeBron being out, Vanderbilt being, in and out of the lineup. But what that trade really did, though, Anthony, it really opened up Austin Reeves. Like I think that's what that trade did. It got Austin Reeves the basketball, because if you look at it, really, it was Rui Hachimura, like the main guy, like that, like contributed this series. D'Angelo Russell came through in games, and he had huge games in the previous series, but it opened up Austin Reeves, and I think like hopefully for next season, like that's where he gets more ball handling duties and all that. But it was a fun ride, man. Like we were 2-10, like you talked about to start. 28 and like 34, I think, 6 games under 500, and to claw out of that
13 seed like 2 weeks before the playoffs started or the play-in.
Yeah, that's why, like you said 1 seed versus 7 seed. I think we're like in a regular, like a 4 probably. Like that's the type of basketball at least we were playing. Like the level of basketball and skill that we were playing was like a 4 seed, but Denver's really good, and even them being that good, all these games were close. They
also
were right
1
there.
seed sweep, like the Lakers used to. I think they did sweep a 4 seed in the second round of the playoffs, right? Like that's the you would go 1 versus 8, and then you play the winner of the 4 and 5 series, and that 1 versus 4 series tends to be like a heavy favorite you have in the 1 seed there.
Yeah, exactly. And so like I don't think this is one to hang your head, and I really hope this is a summer of tweaks and not complete teardowns, because that's what we've had for the last few years. Every summer has been a complete teardown. Someone would deserve it. Last summer was actually the one that probably deserved a teardown and didn't get it. But like I hope this is a summer of tweaks, and I'm a lot more at peace this summer, Anthony, than the last one. The last one I felt like we needed.
Oh, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Oh, I can't wait for like, look, LeBron, we're going to get a report, either Haynes or Karania
surgery
is going to get some. Yeah, they're going to send some report out there that LeBron is going for surgery in the next few weeks or so, so that he can get back in time for training camp. Probably going to get some update on Anthony Davis's foot, and what might be going on there, because he lost the ability to jump like higher than a couple of feet off the floor. That's going to be the starting point of the offseason. That's where everything is going to kind of trickle down from there. But you also have Mo Bamba's unguaranteed contract that because of the way it's put together, the Lakers can technically still use it and use it later into the offseason, and that becomes an asset. You have Malik Beasley's unguaranteed contract or whatever it is, or team option, however it's framed. That is a trade chip if the Lakers decide to use it that way. They have a first-round pick this year, and a fairly decent one. They were
17th pick.
They're exactly. Like it's within the top 20, and it's a good draft class, and we know that this scouting department is really good at that stuff if they decided to use it on a player. And if not, then the Lakers, that's a pretty nice trade chip that they can utilize to improve the team and fix some holes here and there. Jared Vanderbilt is going to get better. Austin Reeves is going to get better. I think Rui Hachimura is going to get better. Those guys are all going to get better playing together as well, so long as they're all together. There's a lot to be really excited about. I frankly, normally a season ends and I've been doing this long enough that you kind of you want to just kind of woosah and, take a deep breath or whatever. But I can't wait to dive back into their options this offseason, because they have, other than the year that they won a championship, where I really thought there, I was like, if they play their cards right here, this could be the beginning of a dynasty. We don't have to talk about that. But this time, though, I really do think they have a legitimate opportunity here. And look, they're still going to, Denver is going to be really effing good again next year, although they aren't going to have Bruce Brown. which is a game changer for them. If he has an option, I don't know if he signed a 2-year deal or if it's a straight up 2-year deal or if it's a player option. If he has a player option, he's opting out. He just made himself $10 million bucks a year this year. And then, but beyond that though, like they're going to continue to I think get better. The Phoenix is going to get more time to gel and maybe get a little bit better there too. Like the Western Conference is still going to be a freaking tire fire everywhere that you turn, but still, this game ends, and obviously there's the immediate letdown of like fuck, and especially the way it ended too, like on the last possession, like damn it, But like fairly quickly, like normally I wouldn't send tweets like I did about like checking your cable provider and stuff
for
like
NBA
that.
TV. Yeah.
I would normally like just kind of sit off to the side and think about it for a little bit, but like I'm feeling spicy. Because I really think that the Lakers have some real opportunities in front of them, and again, like I do so to kind of poke fun at Nuggets fans in particular because they've been super annoying in my mentions all series, but like I do want to stress nothing but respect for the Nuggets this series, this season, frankly. And then what Miami is doing in the other conference is like brought some joy to getting swept, right? As we watch the Celtics just get annihilated and embarrassed. So, I to your point, I can't wait for this offseason. I can't wait to see what the Lakers do.
That's why I said basketball is a 365, close to 365 days a year. Don't need any other more sports.
366 days, Raj. Where's your commitment?
Exactly. Yeah. So we go right this into the NBA Finals. NBA Draft is right after.
The occasional leap year.
Yes, you get to Summer League right after with the first round pick. I was looking at our last year. So funny enough, we closed against Denver last season. We didn't make the playoffs, but it was like an overtime win. And we were playing like Wayne Ellington, DJ Augustine, like these were the guys that were on our roster, you know what I mean? And I feel like now we have young pieces to go forward with. Rui Hachimura showed that like he's a legit playoff dude. Austin Reeves showed that he's a legit playoff dude. And some of these questions you would not be able to have answers for without a playoff series. Like you just wouldn't. Like you would not know who to trust and who you can't. And it's interesting in the D'Angelo Russell conversation, but like you got answers on Austin.
That's the word that you want to use there.
But you got answers
that door swings both ways. Unfortunately, we do have answers on D'Angelo Russell.
We got some answers. We also got answers on Malik Beasley as well, right? Malik Beasley, Troy Brown. Like we got a bunch of different answers there, and I think that gives us a lot of data to go into the offseason with and be like, okay, like these are guys that we know. They've been in high pressure situations and they come through. And now let's add to that, right? Anthony Davis, maybe we just go into the offseason like he can't put up, a consistent 30 a game. Like maybe that's just not in his game right now. Maybe LeBron does need more initiator help. Maybe we do need a little bit more shooting with size. And I think they have the capabilities to do that. You talked about the 17th pick. Our scouts have been working with like undrafted, like they've been pulling from the undrafted pool. You give them a 17th pick. Like, I can't wait to see what they come up with.
Yeah, like Max Christie looks like he has real promise, and he was like the 32nd pick or something like that, right? Like he was an early second rounder. So there's and again, we have an entire offseason to dive into that stuff. And I did touch on some of it last night in the lowdown because we've had some rumors already start to swirl, but I can't wait, man. And also like the stuff that we're hearing heading into the offseason about the direction that it is likely going to take, also nothing but reasons to be excited, right? The Lakers are going to bring back Austin Reeves. Not like, I remember with Caruso, the first time I remember experiencing this was actually with Sasha Vujacic. And he was asked after the Lakers won a championship in his exit interview, like, Sasha, would you, how excited are you to come back and maybe give this thing a go? And he's like, well, we got to see, what options are out there. I was like, well, Sasha's not coming back. And like Alex Caruso last year at the very offset, or not last year, was it 2 years ago? 2 years ago. At the very offset of the summer, You had some reports of like, well, let's pump the brakes. We'll see if they're able to bring back Caruso. Those taxes are going to be pretty rough. And then from the Lakers, like I was hearing, and from around the league, I was hearing like, oh no, he's gone. Like they are way far apart. He doesn't feel valued by them. They haven't made a serious offer to him. He is gone. And that was, that's how it wound up playing out. But here with Reeves and with Rui,
they're Leston. They're coming back, guys. Don't worry.
Yeah, right. Like I, as of right now, Mark Stein stressed it in his latest. Adrian Wojnarowski and Wojnarowski and Dave McMenamin, they've both stressed it that the Lakers' plan is to bring those guys back. And look, that is 4 out of 5 of a really good starting lineup. That is a really, really depending. And we can talk about because I was wondering today if Rui would actually start or if the Lakers would actually start a center next to AD to maybe save his legs so that he can play better than every third game in the playoffs as he did in this one. I'm kidding. Tonight was pathetic, man. Like, should we just talk about it? Like, I can't not think about it. Like, it's gonna keep me up at night. It was all the stuff that you would hope. You're 4 games into a series. You haven't been getting the lean your shoulder in. I do it all the time with Jen. When Jen, if I have like a ball in my hand, because we have that little Fisher Price basket, right? If I have a ball in my hand and I see Jen walking towards me, I'll stick my shoulder in and then I'll go, oh, and I'll shoot it. And I'll say, and one, I can't wait to start doing it with Avery. Avery is still too short. She would headbutt my knee and that wouldn't go very well. But with Jen, that's a regular season call, right? That is not a call. I wouldn't anticipate, Scott Foster to walk into my living room when I draw that foul on Jen and get that foul call from Scott Foster this time of year. From October,
would you kick him out? What would you do? Would you kick him out?
Did you see what LeBron did to him?
You do something similar? What do you?
Bah!
And one.
Eat that whistle. Mm.
I think that's assault, but yeah.
Not in Texas. In Texas, I get to protect my ground. I get to protect my home. But yeah.
Oh man.
But you watch AD, you're 4 games into it, and you're still trying to draw that same stupid foul, and it's you're so much bigger and more athletic than everybody else out there. I said, draw charge. Did you see, Raj? You saw it. Jokic earning his charge call on LeBron, yeah. Right? LeBron takes the first flop one. Yeah. LeBron takes the first one. He's kind of a flop, if we're being honest, right? He was ready to take that charge. But the second one, LeBron had no choice in the matter.
Jokic, I thought they would look at that for a flagrant, and they just went the other way. I was like, oh my God. Jokic still complained after that. He's like, what? You're like, dude.
Yeah. Well, that's all he does. But it was funny to see because I think that was his 5th, right? That was Jokic's 5th foul. Yeah. So
he did not care. Zero care in the world.
They pan right. Well, because he knows AD isn't going to attack him on the other end. He doesn't have to worry about a 6th. But they pan to the Nuggets bench, and you would normally challenge that because it's your star's 5th foul.
They knew.
And Malone is asking his coaching staff, should we go? I was like, no, man. He really stuck that thing out there. That was a frustration Jokic foul. But yeah, I was just, it was maddening to watch the float, the attempts at the floater stuff. And then he started backing further out and he started taking jumpers, which he hit a couple of them, and you have to take a couple over the course of a game or whatever. But offensively, it was just such an uninspiring performance. And it was real. And also, frankly, on defense too, he was late on some rotations over, and Denver was getting some stuff at the rim that they shouldn't have been able to get. It was an all around bad game that it really says something that Tristan Thompson comes in there and he's the spark plug at your position. That can't happen, man. It can't.
Yeah.
Cool. Really fun to watch Tristan like play up to that moment and the crowd, like he got the crowd in the game and the Lakers back into that game. But that can't happen with your near $50 million a year player.
Yeah. I wanted to see
And by the way, the cornerstone of your franchise after LeBron, the guy who played 47 and a half minutes, he's going to retire at some point, and AD is supposed to get the keys. You're telling me you're comfortable with that?
Well, so I wanted to see some more fight, right? And LeBron got into it with Aaron Gordon, right? Like he got into a little scuffle with Aaron Gordon. I was like, we need someone else to join him. Like someone's got to jump in on that fight. And I thought he was the only one really game. Tristan Thompson was game, and I give him respect for that. He came in, he got like a quick foul, and like Jokic tried to touch him, and he pushed him off him. I was like, okay, like Tristan Thompson, is here for it. And I think like the most important disappointing thing is the like 6 or 15 is what it is. I would like him to go out swinging a little bit more. But there was a play like KCP kind of pushed him in his back, and then he flopped for the foul. I'm like, just put KCP in the basket. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you got the call, but like a KCP push in the back should not stop you from number one catching the ball and then like going up in the paint. And that was this type of stuff. Like he was double clutching at the rim, and I'm not sure what the injury stuff is with him. The most frustrating to me is the screen setting. Like someone's got to be on the bench being like, you got to get contact on your screens. You got to stop slipping all these because it's killing our advantage on those plays. But yeah, it was disappointing. Like you would hope. It looked like he was kind of in his head with the referees. It looked like he thought he was getting fouled by Jokic on every play, and maybe he was but like that. That can't take you out
Regular
of the game,
season
right?
fouls, sure. Like I thought, like Jokic committed about 15 regular season fouls over the course of this game. I
Yeah.
completely agree, AD. But at some point, you also got to realize you're not getting him.
No, and I would like him to exert force back, right? Like dish the physicality back to him. And I thought he didn't do that enough tonight. He bailed him out way too many times. If Jokic is going to let you ISO at the top of the key, you got to be able to drive on him. Make them call the calls at the rim. And I thought he just accepted the physicality. And I thought the team kind of did. When Denver pushed on their run and they upped their physicality, I thought we didn't match it. We went soft to the basket. We, shied away from contact. And I thought that was kind of our demise. And Anthony Davis was a part of that. And I thought he stepped up a little bit in the fourth quarter. It was a lot more aggressive then, but it was a little too late. And he's just not in any rhythm, right? Anthony, like AD doesn't shoot at all in the first half, very passive, deferring to Schroeder, Austin, and LeBron. And then third quarter comes, Denver starts to punch, and now we need Anthony Davis to punch back, and he hasn't swung all game. So like it was tough to watch him go through that. But again, like hopefully, he comes back and we can make another run at this. But yeah, you're right. It was a frustrating game for him. A frustrating series, honestly. Had 40 in game one, and after that, really struggled to get in any offensive rhythm.
This is kind of weird. To I guess offset the positive vibes that we had going into this offseason. Jovan Buha tweets out LeBron James with a cryptic ending to his press conference. Quote, I got a lot to think about just personally with me moving forward with the game of basketball. I got a lot to think about.
Huh. Well, I don't. I mean, he's under contract for another year, but I don't think that means next year. I'm guessing he's just looking at his future in the game of basketball, which makes sense for a guy turning 39 next year.
I mean, he just played 47 and a half minutes and got swept, right? This is the first time he's ever been swept. This has been a really frustrating season for him. This has been, I think, one of the first times I've ever seen him, like this year was the first time I saw him suffer a non-contact injury, right? Where he just like planted on his right foot and he felt that pop, right? And, apparently visited the podiatrist and was able to avoid surgery and was, gave it a go here. And I would imagine like coming up, like, all right, so this is how LeBron's kind of seasons heading into the offseason has kind of gone for, especially his time as a Laker, is he will, go into the season and like that very first year, remember LeBron and Magic
Alonzo.
Johnson.
Oh, okay.
Like they came together and they tried to figure out that experiment, that grand experiment surrounding LeBron with ball handlers rather than finishers, right?
No
And
shooting. Yes.
yeah, no shooting, just nothing but creativity, right? The most creative team you will ever see. It doesn't go very well, right? It goes so poorly that after he was asked about it at the end of the season, literally made a fart noise. Like the same thing that my son does now. Like when he gets frustrated, my son will just start going like that was LeBron's analysis of that grand experiment. So the following year, he actually starts the season as their point guard, right? He
Mm-hmm.
he goes into it. KCP, I believe, started at like the quote unquote point guard spot. He was their smaller guard out there, or I guess Avery Bradley did.
Avery
Avery
Bradley
Bradley
and Danny
started,
Green.
and yeah, and so LeBron goes into that, and yeah, he goes through that entire season, carries that burden, wins a championship, and
Mm-hmm.
it's like an even further burden because of how crazy that season was, literally extended for more than a calendar year.
Yeah.
Starts the next season like 3 hours later, and that goes about as well as you would expect, right? Being that kind of exhausted, the Lakers tried to get him more help on the perimeter because he felt the burden of all of that creativity, all of those creative responsibilities. He goes into the offseason and says, that sucked. I don't want to do that again. Can we get some more help on the perimeter? They trade for Dennis Schroeder, right? And the fit there was oh, like anywhere between okay to meh, sometimes looked pretty good. Other times, like especially after Marc Gasol got sick, I don't think they ever really looked as good as they did at the beginning of the season when Mark was out there and you had his
Yeah.
creative presence and you had Schroeder and you had LeBron and
AD
like
got hurt too,
LeBron,
right? Within that, so
yeah.
he was out a few months. Mm-hmm.
So that season happens, and over the course of that season, LeBron starts to realize, all right, this I'm gonna have to do all the creative stuff if we're gonna figure this out, and we'll figure out the Schroeder fit on the fly. And then after that offseason, he says, I need more help on the perimeter. They trade for Russell Westbrook. That's a complete disaster. And like essentially, it's this same kind of cycle of I'm going to bring in creative players and I'm going to entrust them at the beginning of the season. And then over the course of the season, I'm going to remember, oh, yeah, that's right, I'm LeBron. And I'm going to play super hard at the end of the year and do all of that stuff at the end of the year. In that offseason, I'm going to want to stop doing that, bring in somebody else who is creative, and then go through that entire cycle all over again. And this isn't quite that. I think this is just kind of the frustration of, man, he put a lot into this playoff run and this series in particular. And over the course of his career, if he exerted that much effort, there was, they made the finals at least, right?
Yeah.
And I think he's kind of looking at mortality through that lens, a very different lens than everybody else, right? Gosh, I tried really hard and I didn't get to the finals, right? Most people's like, I tried really hard and we only won a series or we didn't win a series. But for him, this wasn't enough. And like this is where this is I want to rewatch the game and I want to see if I could find clips of what was going on the bench. And I would have loved to seen the scene in at halftime in the locker room when AD walks in there and he was just not a factor while LeBron plays all 24 minutes there. Like I know I don't want to go I don't want to get too far ahead of myself here, but I do kind of wonder. AD has spent most of the last couple seasons injured, and then this season he was healthy and he wasn't effective when the Lakers absolutely needed him to be. You know, I, I I'm kind of wondering, and he had AD I think sitting next to him in that one in that press conference. That's how they've been doing this. So I'm gonna go back and look for that too. But I do kind of wonder beyond his own like macro future, zooming back in on what the Lakers might
Mm-hmm.
need here moving forward, I kind of wonder if there's some AD frustration.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. Obviously, AD did not come through
AD's
offensively.
still freaking special though. He's such a great fit
No,
when they're healthy.
he's an insane. He's the best defender in basketball. Like I think you would agree with that.
Yeah.
He's the best defender in basketball, and I think that's still something you can build around with LeBron. And this is why, to me, Austin is so important within this, because the Russell Westbrook situation, the part of it that makes it tough is that if you go get another shot creator like that, that costs a lot, not just in salary, but in terms of assets you would have to move. Being able to just hope Austin makes it, it's plausible that Austin makes another little third year leap. Third year is usually
Yeah.
where players make that leap. And if he can make a good leap in his third year, I think you have enough playmaking to where you can kind of, LeBron doesn't have to do everything, at least in the regular season. And I think that's what popped off for me this season, is that you got Austin Reeves showing that he can average 20 in a playoff Western Conference. That's insane. In a Western Conference Finals, you have a guy who can average 20 as an opposite ball handler to LeBron. And I think that's where the team build should be. Anthony Davis can still be the monster on defense. Maybe you're not going to rely on him as much offensively. You just kind of have to go into a season accepting that his jump shot's just not going to be there. Like, it's the third straight year. There's no jump shot coming for AD.
Yeah.
So you have to kind of work that within whatever your team build is. And I think they can. I think Rui Hachimura is also legit. I think he's a legit 15-point a game scorer if you get him the minutes. And I think he's improving every day defensively. Like, to me, that's your core there. And I think that's something you can still build. I don't think this team is that far away. And I think LeBron feels that too. It's why he went this hard. Right. And he had quotes about, like, I believe in this team. Like, I believe this team can win it all. And I don't think he was too far off. I don't think he was way off base with that. This team ran into an extremely, a really talented Denver team that was really committed to what they do. And
fresher, by the way. Like, Denver didn't have to play for like the last month and a half of the season.
Exactly. This team was in playoff mode in middle of February, and that must cut your legs off at a certain point. Austin Reeves lost his legs and got him back somehow, but like, still, like, usually players, like, by the time the playoffs come and you've been playing playoff games since February, you're kind of done. So I think this team can still go. Look, relying on a 39-year-old LeBron, like, that's crazy to say out loud. Like, saying that out loud, just it feels weird. But I hope, like, next year you don't have to rely on him at least all year to at least carry you, where you're not a 7 seed fighting a playing game, playing 3 straight road series. Like, that catches up to you at some point. Let's see if it catches Miami, but I still think, like, that's a really tough thing to count on. So hopefully you have a better regular season. You can kind of load manage LeBron a little bit more than you were able to this season, and get another shot at it. I think this team is closer than this sweep appears to be.
Yeah, I really think that, like, and at the beginning of the season, this is why I'm kind of kicking myself for the way that I bet this series. And look, I lost money betting on the Lakers. There are worse ways to lose money, right?
Sure.
But in hindsight, I'm annoyed at, like, ignoring my own instincts coming into the season, because Denver was so, like, when they traded for Aaron Gordon in the first place before Jamal Murray tore his ACL, they looked incredible.
Tearing up the league.
Amazing. And then it takes, more than a year for Jamal Murray to get healthy. He comes back, and I don't think he's really started to get his stride. And there were some stretches over the course of the season where he was saying he still didn't quite trust his body right. He clearly trusts it now. He's willing to attack the rim with Anthony Davis standing there every so often. Like, that's about as much as he's going to trust his body. So he is back to playing elite basketball. Jokic is obviously still Jokic. The KCP pickup was incredible. Like, it pisses me off so much how well, like, it makes me happy because he's going to win another championship and serve the Lakers right for trading away winning players to go out and get, not one. And then Bruce Brown was also a great pickup, for them. Like, it was just, to me, coming into the season, I thought, Denver was the best team in the conference, and it's just a matter of, like, how well the conference stacks up to the East, because in the East you had Milwaukee and Boston and Philly, who all looked really good, and who all, by the way, now got their asses kicked by Miami of all teams, which I did not. Sorry, I did not see that one coming. But I kind of wonder if, what really stood out to me in this one, Raj, after the Lakers, after this game ends, AD, like, immediately goes to Jokic and daps him up, right? And all that stuff. LeBron was ready to walk right off the court, and, like, just,
he had a quick exit.
Yeah, that's kind of what he does in these spots. Like, but he like stopped himself, sought out Jokic,
Yeah.
and dapped him up and said great series and all that stuff. Like, that's an amount of respect. If you're getting that from LeBron, that means it's like that meme where the white guy and the black guy trade their shirts in Vegas. Please tell me you've seen that one. Like,
Yes, I've seen that one. Yes.
but like, but like, it was great to see that from LeBron. But that was like a show of respect of like, yeah, it's this guy's league now.
Yeah.
It's this guy or Giannis, and I can occasionally get there. But if I'm going to get there, or if I'm going to compete with these guys, it's going to be because I have somebody close to their level, closer maybe that I can get over the course of a 7-game series. Because I don't think he can sustain that. Like, clearly can't do this. He
No.
couldn't do this over 48 minutes. Nobody can. But like, he couldn't play and compete at that level over the course of 48 minutes, let alone a longer series. Like, if the Lakers won this one, he was imagine.
Yeah,
he might cramp up during layups.
Yeah.
So like, I think that's kind of when he's talking about like my future in the game and stuff like that, I kind of wonder, like Michael, we saw how difficult it was for him to step away. Kobe, for lack of a better way to present it, but like, Kobe had his fate decided for him. His body gave up. He tore his Achilles, and his future in the NBA was just kind of like decided for him. LeBron here is clearly capable of playing really effing good basketball, but it isn't like consistently the level of play he's used to. And I think that's really difficult to understand and wrap his head around.
And it's also an evolution of his game, right? He's no longer like what Luka does, right? Luka's just all game. I'm on the ball. Grab me a screen. I'm running every single offensive play. That's no longer what LeBron is. He's morphed into like a big man, to where like he's screening now. He's a 4 pretty much the entire time that he plays. He's going to the post to get his offense. And I still think that's a really great player. Now, is that the best player in the league? Probably not. But like, can that still be a top 10, top 5 player on a lot of nights? Yeah, I think it can. I think in the regular season, you can use that to build the base of the team around. And that's why I think the playoffs were so useful. Like, imagine, Anthony, if we were out in the playing game, which was an extreme possibility. We were down to Minnesota, and I'm not sure.
I remember.
And I think we recorded after that, and I'm not sure we go into OKC and win. Like, I'm not entirely sure if that's actually the case that happens after that.
Well, OKC comes to us. They would have come to.
Right. Yeah, right. OKC would have came to us, but still, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and all those guys make it really tough. But now we got so many like questions answered. Imagine if we didn't have a playoff run to know, like, hey, is Rui Hachimura worth 10 million to 15? Is Austin Reeves, I think we knew, but D'Lo's number, we'll see what that gets to. And so like, we got every time I bring up D'Lo, I feel terrible.
It's just like you see the red flash across my eyes.
Yeah.
I look like Daredevil. He's just like yeah.
So yeah, like, we got a lot of answers to questions, and I think LeBron got a lot of answers to questions. Like, hey, I can't average 35 for a series, but what I can do is I can pick my spots, and then like in game 6s, I can go off. In game 3s, in like game 4s, when we need it, I can go off. And I think that's the thing we'll see next year as well. We'll see how his body responds, of course. Him and AD, we're going to go through the can they still stay healthy thing for another season, of course. But I still think that's the thing. That's still your core. You just have to build around them a little differently. You can't just surround them with a bunch of Danny Greens anymore. Like that can't be the case.
The good thing here is that LeBron and AD aren't going to have to play as hard as they did at the beginning of this season. Like, they had to like score 70 combined for the Lakers to have a chance at winning. And Reeves, I think, is capable of averaging 20 or so points over the course of a season next year. Rui Hachimura probably is going to average about 15 or so points over the course of the year. Whether it's D'Angelo Russell or somebody at point guard or shooting guard, that player, I think, is going to be capable of averaging 15, 20 or so points or so. And then the lift from LeBron and AD is significantly less. And if the Lakers offer enough shooting, also, when they do try to go get to the basket, it isn't as difficult as it was when Russ was there. and like the Lakers didn't have any shooting. So that's worth noting. Before we move on really quick though, I'm gonna read Ben Golliver of the Washington Post. I believe he's still there. Yeah, so Ben Golliver grabbed the entire quote here from LeBron, and I think this context is important. I haven't read it yet, so it might get worse, but we'll see.
All right.
All right, quote, I don't like to say it's a successful year because I don't play for anything besides winning championships at this point in my career. Take that, Giannis. I don't get a kick out of making a conference finals appearance. I've done it a lot, and it's not fun to me to be able to be a part of, for not to be a part of getting to the finals. But we'll see what happens going forward. I don't know. I've got a lot to think about, to be honest. The repeating himself stands out to me. Just for me personally, going forward with the game of basketball, I've got a lot to think about. Again, repeating himself. On LeBron on the Lakers roster next year, to be honest, I'm not quite sure what the roster will look like next year. I think myself, AD, Max Christie, I think Vando has a team option, player option, something like that. I don't know who else. I mean, the roster is not set. Obviously, that's Rob and the front office. They're going to figure out the best way to put this team together to go full forward in the fall. But it's not like we have a team full of multi-year guys that's stuck in a contract right now. So I don't know. We'll see. So the reason he didn't mention Reeves there is because he doesn't have a contract next year.
Sure.
So like he was literally listing the guys that are under contract, and it is just that. It is it is those 4 guys. So before people freak out, why isn't he talking about Austin Reeves? That's why. It's because they literally have 4 players under contract next year. But yeah, I think all of that sounds perfectly fine, to be completely honest. You don't attain the heights that he has attained over the course of his career and be like stoked to get swept in the conference finals.
No, of course not. He is like, obviously LeBron's not going to say, "Oh yeah, we started 2-10, so this is okay to get swept." I mean, I don't want that to be his mentality. I don't want that to be
failure is just steps towards progress, right, or something like that.
Right, and like I bet if Giannis had that over it again, he wouldn't say it in those exact words. But LeBron, I hope that's not his mentality. AD, all those guys, like I hope that's not their mentality. Going into this, that like yeah, we're happy to make the conference finals. But I do believe like he probably feels a lot more at peace with where the roster is. He may still go call Kyrie Irving this summer. But like I feel like the roster's a little bit has a lot more. You can have a lot more continuity going to next season. That's cool that he mentioned Max Christie getting a shout out in the final press conference. So
you think Max got like a little nervous? He's like,
yeah,
what? What?
I better be ready. Yeah, Max, our first round pick next year. Jared Vanderbilt under contract already for next season. So a lot more depth pieces. This roster doesn't have to be gutted, right? Like it does not have to be gutted. We had shout out to him. Carmelo Anthony retired. That guy was like our starting starting power forward last year. And he just retired this year because he was out of the league for the whole season. Like that was our team. It was Carmelo Anthony was there, Talon Horton-Tucker, who's in Utah now, Wayne Ellington, who's not in the league anymore, DeAndre Jordan, who's somehow in the NBA Finals for some reason, did not play a minute in this series. Like that was our starting center. So I'm just a lot more at peace, and I think LeBron is too. He can go into summer a lot more just focus on his own regimen and training, and it doesn't have to be where's Westbrook going, or I didn't have any say to the Westbrook thing, or it was on Rob, or all that like back and forth we got last summer. This feels a lot more like let the front office do their job, and we just go into next season with a solid roster. So yeah, nothing he said there. LeBron does a good job of saying a lot without saying anything, and that's what it felt like that was.
All right, last couple things before we get out of here. I want to talk about Darvin Ham, and I do want to look ahead to the offseason just very quickly as it pertains to AD, because I think that like Reeves, I think is going to dictate the ceiling for next year's team. Him and Rui, I guess, for that matter. But I want to talk about Darvin Ham, and then eventually I want to talk about AD because he's going to set, I think, the floor. I guess also technically the ceiling, because he's probably gonna have to be the best player on the team when LeBron is entering year 21. But anyway, as far as Darvin Ham goes, he changes the starting lineup tonight, which I thought was good.
Yep.
And I thought that lineup came out with enough intensity and looked good enough to take a more commanding lead than they did. thought there were some really tough calls in that opening stretch that kept Denver in the game long enough for them to recognize, like, oh, let's just stick around, see what happens. You had, I think Reeves got on the first shot of his game. KCP pretty clearly knocked back his follow through on a shot that drew the shot short. There was a goaltending call. There was Jokic slapping AD across the arm. There was the same play that D'Angelo Russell was called a flagrant for. You had that not even get reviewed, right? There was just some interesting calls. We'll just call them interesting. And I thought Denver it was able to stay in the game through those calls, and again took advantage of that opportunity, but got that opportunity, I thought, with some poor officiating. But I thought the starting lineup was the right call tonight. You could maybe make the argument. I made it as like a galaxy brain take that maybe you throw Lonnie in there instead of Schroeder or whatever. But I thought like keeping it simple and just going with your best group to this point made the most sense. A, what did you think of the starting lineup, and B, like Darvin Ham overall as a coach?
I honestly wish they went to this in game 3. Like I really did. I feel like if you went to that in game 3, maybe you had a better chance of winning.
And you would have more reps coming into this one. Yeah.
Yeah, and he
it's
said
this
was our elimination game. That's why you should have treated game 3 like your elimination game, because it basically was. I thought that was the right decision. I thought benching D'Lo was correct. I understand why they were really cautious about doing that, but I thought that was right. And pulling him and Vanderbilt out, I thought was right as well. Putting Rui in because they earned it, and it helped. The Lakers went up 13 in the first half with LeBron having more space to work with. Dennis Schroeder hounding Jamal Murray. I thought it did help Jamal Murray not get off as easily as he did in game 3. But they just couldn't keep it up. Anthony Davis obviously wasn't able to bring it offensively. But I thought Darvin Ham, like after the first half of the season, which was a lot of question marks, a lot of 4 to 5 guard lineups and all that, I thought once he got a real team around him, I thought he coached pretty well. Started Malik Beasley for a little while, eventually realized like, hey, Austin Reeves just a lot better than this dude, and I got to throw him with the starters. And that's when we really took off on our run. LeBron James gets hurt. He understands like, okay, I got to go to Rui more. I got to play Vanderbilt more. He knew how to like where to put players correctly. He's like, okay, Vanderbilt, I'm going to throw you on these wings, throw you on Luka, throw you on Brandon Ingram, throw you on John Morant. Those are really good coaching decisions. The tactical matchup with Steve Kerr, where he's like, okay, they have Jermichael Green now out there. They're screening. Where do I put AD? All right, I switch AD now off of Draymond onto Andrew Wiggins, and that really mucked up the Warriors offense. In the Warriors series as well, having Vanderbilt on Jaw and then putting Dennis Schroeder on Jaw in the correct matchups. Like I thought he coached a pretty good playoff, a pretty strong
especially
playoff
for a rookie.
Yeah, he's a first-year head coach, probably a lot of locker room politics that we probably aren't really privy to that he has to control as well. I'm sure taking Malik Beasley completely out the rotation wasn't an easy decision for him as well, but he realized that he can't play in the playoffs. I'm sure taking Troy Brown out, I'm sure benching Lonnie and then throwing him into a fourth quarter, just trusting that he was ready. Like those are all coaching stuff that we kind of pass over, but those are like really big decisions that have impacted not just the direction of this team, but it going forward. Making a conference finals has a lot of impact on the summer that you have and the forward, decisions that you make. And I thought Darvin was great. In a summer of all these coaches being free, it's nice to go into one knowing that there's some stability there, that your coach is not getting fired. At least I think. But Darvin should be the coach to start next season. And I thought he did a fine job this year.
Raj, never be an airline pilot.
Okay.
Because like you try to say that with confidence. Like you try to say
you never know. This league is insane.
At least you're good to go with that. Maybe.
Coaching is the most like unsecure
we are definitely making it to our destination.
Yeah.
Potentially. Maybe.
Exactly, yeah. We'll see if you get there.
Have you seen Final Destination? Not you. You have not.
No.
I know.
No, I have not. Aren't there like 3 of them or something like that?
There's a ton of them. Yeah, the first one really kind of messed with me, actually. Now that I think about it, but yeah, I think overall, I would give Ham like a B on the season.
Sure.
I still think that he is. And now look, like unfortunately here it's kind of tough because what is I think his best attribute can also be kind of his biggest weakness and biggest obstacle to that he needs to overcome. I think he really trusts his guys and he really loves his guys and like really believes in the guys that he is coaching and knows that eventually he's going to have to rely on them. And like that trust, that belief, that confidence that helped the Lakers beat the Warriors as out of nowhere, Lonnie Walker starts playing really well, right?
Mhm.
But that said, what that can also lead to is, hey, it might take me an extra game to get D'Angelo
Sure.
Russell out of the starting lineup. And it might take me a little extra while to move away from Jared Vanderbilt or whatever, who I still thought, like, if I had one kind of thing, I mean, essentially Tristan Thompson got the Jared Vanderbilt minutes, and he
Played
played
great.
well
Yeah.
enough that, like, I guess I can't really complain, but removing Vanderbilt altogether, like that's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out is Ham is going to have to be more comfortable with Vanderbilt and Rui playing together in some
Yeah.
way somehow. Like that's going to be something that they're going to have to figure out next year. But yeah, I think especially when when you consider like if you grade him on a curve by way of being a rookie head coach, I certainly think a B is a perfectly passable grade, and you couldn't really expect much more from him here. He went up against a coach in Mike Malone, Mike, whatever his name is,
Mhm.
Malone, who has been with that core for 7 years, like going on a decade now, right? With that core that they have
Yep.
in Denver, and that guy knew exactly which buttons to press and what the result was going to be, and I thought like he had some advantages here, took advantage of those advantages, but still like had the better team and all of that, and I thought Ham represented himself very well, and yeah, I'm looking forward to what, and it also like we haven't heard any rumors that anybody from the Lakers coaching staff is like on anybody's radar or for head coaching gigs. So you'll
Is
get
that a
some of
good
that
thing?
continuity as well. Well, it's good and it's bad, right? Because it's yes and no, right? The
Yeah.
Darius response. Yes, because you get continuity. No, because like you would like to have like a star coming up here that like really adds to what you're trying to do there. But yeah, I think overall for him, without being ridiculous, I think he was fine. And the
Yeah.
Lakers probably needed better than fine, because they were the underdog in the series. And if you're gonna make up do I think they would have done better in the series with Eric Spoelstra at the helm? Probably. You know, like
Maybe.
do I like what I mean? Like they're if I stuck like any top five coach or whatever in this spot, would the Lakers maybe perform a little bit better? All things considered, maybe we just don't know enough about coaching to say definitively. But I do think though, like next year they are going to if you had to find me somebody whose attitude who I would be confident in their ability to build on this year, Ham is that guy, right?
Yeah.
The ability to keep guys in engaged over the course of this super frustrating season and still get them to go on this run in the postseason and believe in themselves in the way that they needed to go on this run, and then now heading into the offseason, get guys to believe in themselves and to believe in what the Lakers are trying to build. Like Ham is a very good purveyor of that message. So
Yeah.
in that regard, like uh you know like you're saying, given all of the question marks that are always around the league about head coaching, it's nice to know that the Lakers aren't going to be thinking about this.
And you also
Maybe.
talked about and you talked about like he got Russell Westbrook to come off the bench. I mean, like that
Yeah.
was played, under, but after the first or second game, he got Westbrook to buy in and look, did Westbrook play great? No, but like he got him to buy in to come off the bench. We heard Joe Mazzulla was talking last night, and some Celtic fan came at me. He was like, he has two Z's in his name. I was like, you have bigger problems than that. But like, yeah, Joe Mazzulla was talking after the
Did you
game,
did you
and
did you
Yeah,
tweet his name?
I was tweeting about Joe Mazzulla, and someone's like, Celtics fans like, he has two Z's in his last name. I was like, yeah, my bad, but you have like bigger issues right now, I'm sure.
Yeah. I got all
Joe,
kinds. Your entire team, it Z's is how I would define the way that they have approached this
yeah,
series. You've
yeah,
all been completely asleep throughout this whole thing.
yeah. I
Yeah,
did say my bad though, but yeah. So like Joe
of
Mazzulla was
course
like,
you
did you
did.
lose the? Yeah, Joe
We are
Mazzulla.
like completely different people.
Yeah, you would have completely tore them a new one. And I was like, my bad. But Joe Mazzulla was asked last night. He's like, "Did you lose the locker room?" He said yes, and then he said something after that. But I don't think Darvin Ham lost this locker room. I thought they were engaged. I thought he got a team to buy in and believe, because when you have a 13th seed, it's really important that your coach comes in there with some type of belief and optimism and enough of a scheme that you can buy into. And he got his team to buy into that. They went on like a 19-7 run to close the season, obviously winning the play-in game, winning 2 series against higher seeds. Memphis was a 2 seed. I know that Steven Adams and Brandon Clark were out. I totally get that, but they still had John Morant averaging 28 whatever a game coming into that series. You go into the dynastic Warriors, maybe not the real dynastic Warriors, but Steph Curry, who just had an incredible series against the Kings. Like, those are huge adjustments and tactics and getting your team to stay focused. And look, there's 2 rookie head coaches here in the conference finals, and one's about to get canned, I feel like, and the other I feel like can build on his team. So I give Darvin Ham a lot of credit. Yeah, that's tough to go into where your team changes so stylistically at the middle of
Yeah.
the season, and you're able to adjust, not only adjust, but be successful at it. Should deserve a lot of credit for what went down this year.
All right. Last thing before we send everybody off into the off season, AD's approach to this off season is going to be really interesting, because I think his career really took a turn when he decided he was going to bulk up, and that's how he was going to play the position of center. I think that extra weight on his body. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say definitively that he has had any impact on his injuries, whatever. Like, that's beyond me. But I do really hope that he goes into this offseason and tries to slim down, because his number one advantage when he first got to the Lakers was that he was too physical for smaller like fours and stuff like that, and too fast for centers. And I thought, like, in this series, you really watched him try to attack Jokic, and all of his moves look so slow, so methodical, and he couldn't like turn the corner on Jokic, who is not exactly a specimen, and I'm really interested, because with what the Lakers could do here, is it wouldn't surprise me if after all of the injuries he's dealt with, he basically goes to the team and says, "Hey, I would like to start at power forward next year." I think it'd be a mistake, because that moves LeBron to small forward, and that really throws some stuff off. And on top of that, like, AD isn't a good enough shooter to be a 4 at this stage of his career either. But also, his concern has always been, if he starts at center, he's going to get hurt a bunch. And then he has started at center and gotten hurt a bunch, right? And it wouldn't surprise me if he goes to Rob Pelinka and says, "Hey, I don't want to start every game going up against Jokic and Ayton and Embiid and Zubats and all of these guys that I just have to battle with inside all the time." Again, I would prefer that he accepts that challenge and accepts kind of where his body is at in that stuff right now, and approaches it in a different way. And the Lakers just kind of play generally a little bit faster with him on the court after he sheds a little bit of weight. But yeah, I'm curious how you think he's going to approach this offseason.
Yeah, I mean, AD has done a ton of interviews where he said, like, I've done the same thing every offseason for the last like 5 or 6 years, so like I don't
He got
expect
himself in trouble. He was like, I don't
yeah,
touch a ball until April or whatever it
yeah.
was.
He said
Yeah.
that's normal for him. And look, guys are going to do what they have to do. I'm not going to tell someone exactly what they're supposed to do. I would like him to slim down a little bit. I think though that like playing power forward thing is kind of. Did you see tonight we played him with Tristan Thompson? I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
Like I was like, am I in a dream right now? We're playing
Hmm.
Tristan Thompson and Anthony Davis together. But no, like this season, I think he played like 97% of his minutes at
Hmm.
center. I don't think that's changing. I think with LeBron's evolution we talked about earlier, it just fits that LeBron's going to have to be the power forward. AD is going to be the center. Now the interesting part here is to me where Rui fits in. I think if Rui can really work on his lateral movement, I think you can have Rui, LeBron, and AD start with
Hmm.
Austin, and then go find the other guard or wing or
I
whatever
agree.
that starts next to him. But look, AD started the season actually really well. Do you remember LeBron went down early, right? And AD kind of carried us out of that 2-10 hole. We were down 2-10, and then AD just went nuts. Remember, he had like 45 in Washington, and he had just like this stretch of games where he was maybe the best player in the league. He was averaging, I think, like 30 and 10 or some ridiculous number. Then he got hurt against Denver, I believe, and then was out for a few months and obviously worked his way back and all that. But he had a good start to this season at least. But yeah, I would like him to slim down a little bit. I think the jumper's gone. At least I'm going to believe it's gone until I see any real proof
Hmm.
of it returning, especially the 3-point shot. I think that's just out of the window. But yeah, like it's all health to me. AD played 56 games this year. That was the most he's played in since the 1920 season where he played 62. The previous season 40 games, the previous season 36. So this stuff we got to throw out. Maybe no superstar plays like 65 anymore. Maybe they're gonna have to because of the All NBA rules. But
They're all
that's the
going to play
biggest thing.
exactly 65.
It's exactly 65. Yes, missed 15 games somehow. But that to me, it's still just health with AD. If he has a consistent amount of games together, he's going to produce, at least in the regular season, enough. He averaged 26 and 13 this year, and with like a block and a few assists. So I think he's still a cornerstone of this team going forward. And like I hope this series doesn't entirely blind, what he did second half after February, because it was remarkable what he was doing on defense on that end. So much so that like we were arguing the Defensive Player of the Year award was fake. Like Jaren Jackson Jr. won Defensive Player of the Year, and we're like,
Yep.
the guy that kicked him out should have won it. So I'm hoping for another bounce back year from him, just making up for those 2 years where he really just didn't play enough games.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you that like one, I would be absolutely shocked if the Lakers traded him, right? And if they traded him, it would be because he kind of said like, "Hey, you know, da da da," you know.
Yeah.
That said, and again, I completely agree as it pertains to like, I really hope people don't. This series sucked, by his standards, but I do really hope that like it doesn't completely cloud the way that they look at the second half of the season and these playoffs to this
Also,
point.
Anthony, he had 40 in game one. Like that also
Yeah.
should be like, that should be posted as well.
So like I think, but the thing there, Raj, he had 40, and it was because he was making jumpers. Like it wasn't like a dominating 40 that like he was fouling guys out of the game with, right? Like when Shaq used to get 40, 5 people would be sitting there on the bench with like 4 fouls midway through the third, And no, I don't think that AD should be Shaq or whatever, but like Jokic is, I just like Jokic is the bar, man, at that position. Like the Lakers are
Definitely.
going to have to find somebody who's going to have to compete with that guy. Like he's not going anywhere. So like he had 40 there and the Lakers lost. And we're down by like 20 something
20.
in that game,
Yep.
So yeah, I just to me it's a mentality thing. Like to me
Sure.
it's a willingness to and an ability to be physical without like having to lower your shoulder and having to like use that off arm to be physical. It's a willingness to on occasion go up. We still didn't like the closest thing we got to it. We got a dunk that he got an offensive rebound on, and he still kind of like snuck the ball over the top of the rim for. It wasn't like I'm still waiting for the holy shit Anthony
Tear the rim
Davis
down.
dunk. and maybe we just weren't going to get that this year because we're still waiting to find out what the situation is with his foot. But I want this guy to I really want to see like him accept the challenge of being the guy, going into the season. And look, the Lakers offense this season looked its best when it was going through AD. When it was when the point was getting him downhill and getting him to the basket. And it was the most overwhelming when he was just creeping around the front of the rim and cleaning up anything that the Lakers threw up there, right? It was when he wasn't a factor on the offensive glass and when he wasn't getting dunks and getting to the free throw line that they looked their most pedestrian. Pedestrian. Wow, I made him like a Marvel character. But if the Lakers are like I said that Reeves is going to set their ceiling, I take that back already. AD is going to set their ceiling. He's gonna be their best player next year. He has to be their best player next year. And like waiting and sitting here waiting for LeBron to pass over those keys. Like it's not a matter of passing the baton. Somebody has to take it, right? Somebody has to take it and pick up steam after they take that baton. And I think we're still kind of waiting for that over the entirety of a season from AD. And this is something that's going to extend beyond this season too, is his ability to do that.
Yeah, and I thought, honestly, I thought he was the best player for us the first two series. Like I thought he was the better player. He outplayed LeBron. I thought he was like right there with Steph. He was definitely the best player in the Memphis series. So he has that capability. You talked about it running after catching the baton. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He has to be better offensively. Like there's no way to mix words there. Like he had to be better and he just wasn't. There's a level of physicality that like he should be able to meet or at least match. And he should not be taken out physically. There's no reason the ref should get in his head. And he's human as all of us are, but superstars are held to a higher standard. Joel Embiid went out sad, right? That was an awful showing for him in that Boston series. James Harden as well went out sad. And that's like the tier of superstar where like AD should be right above that. And I think he has that capability. He was that on the defensive end. But these are two-way monsters. Like you're a judge by your two-way performance. And he had to be better, and he just wasn't. And if the jump shot's not there, again, I said this in the last podcast, like he has this way of like, since he can take a shot, he does. So like instead of going to the basket, he takes these little floaters, which are 50%, 55% shots when go in there and be physical, go in there and dunk on someone. And he totally has that in his game too. So hope I see that next year. I do think the foot was bothering, like the screen setting stuff. Anthony Davis knows how to set a screen like that. All the slipping the screen stuff, I think is all cumulative of like trying to injury prevent, which I'm hopeful that he's can be over that next season. He had a couple of freak injuries this year, the stress factor, forgot what injury it was in February or in January that he got hurt and missed 3 months. But hopefully next year you can get a real fully healthy, back to 1920 Anthony Davis, because that dude was an athletic monster to go along with the defense and the handles and all that. And we just haven't got that back yet. And I'm hopeful next year we do.
I just want to stress one more time before we get out of here the mentality aspect of it, the intangible aspect of it. You look at the two guys who are likely going to be meeting in the finals this year, and it's two absolute homicidal maniacs. Nikola Jokic, Nikola Jokic is like people aren't going to believe it because of my tweets and stuff like that, but I love watching the Denver Nuggets. Like they were legitimately one of my favorite teams this year. To watch, because Jokic on any given night is going to find that way to kill you and then just keep doing that thing. Some nights it's with a gun. Some nights it's with a mallet. Sometimes it's with it doesn't matter. Like and then you look at the other side of the conference where it's Jimmy Butler, and he is like taking pleasure in ripping Boston's heart out, right? Just picking up it's just maniacal behavior where he picks up a tee for the timeout thing at Al Horford and then posts a picture of him picking up that tee on his socials, right? And he's just takes pleasure in beating the shit out of people. And it's just like, I'm still waiting for that for the entirety of a series. And you're right. He was the best player for the Lakers in both of those last two series. But in both of those two series, he also had games where it was like, you gonna
he gets
play?
Taken out,
and look, we are both blessed having watched Kobe, and this isn't to say that Kobe didn't have bad playoff games, right? early in his career, he had the infamous like double or triple airball game.
Airballs.
But like I never felt like with Kobe that the moment ever felt too big for him, or that somebody else on the court felt too big for him. That no matter what, he was going to compete and he was going to go down swinging, and he was that homicidal maniac that took pleasure in ripping people. Dude, what kind of a sicko do you have to be to pat an opposing head coach on the ass after you hit a shot on him? You know?
Yeah.
And you know, look, like LeBron is very political, and you don't think of him in that way or whatever. In political meaning like the way that he positions himself around the league, but he also is a freaking psychopath, man. If he feels like Andrew Wiggins, like he was like before the game, you find out that Andrew Wiggins had that like rib injury. He had like fractured rib cartilage. First thing, boom, you know, like first thing, so like the very first possession, and that was that was LeBron being like, if you're gonna guard me, it's gonna fucking hurt, you know. And I'm sorry, I don't see that from AD. I see it sometimes on defense. He had that great contest on Aaron Gordon or whatever like that, but LeBron is capable of doing that and did do that on like the person who guarded Jokic best in the series was LeBron. Like LeBron, you know,
was insane. Yeah.
38-year-old LeBron. And he was also capable of playing 47 and a half minutes in this one. Like, and doing what he like. And again, LeBron is for my money, the best basketball player I've ever seen. Michael, like people want to talk whatever. And I'm sure AP, the great 28 is going to have some takes here about LeBron and Michael too, whatever. But like for my money, when it comes to all of the tools that you would ask for from a basketball player, LeBron has all of them. And also is a psychopath. And then you combine like, you know, AD has all of those skills too, most of those skills, like as many skills you could realistically hope for when you're born as a human being playing basketball. The thing that he's just kind of missing is I want to see that just like absolute homicidal maniac. I honestly saw it more from Austin Reeves over the course of the playoffs than I saw it from AD.
I was gonna mention that Austin Reeves has that maniacal psychopath.
He's
like
a fucking psycho.
He's crazy. I think Rui has some of that too. Like he was smiling in the Memphis series, you know, sticking out his tongue
sticking his tongue out. Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's like with AD. I think it's a motor issue too. He has this wide gap in motor for some reason that like it's really clear when he's like on. And I feel like defense gets him going in a strange way. Like when he's not scoring and he's not like impacting the game defensively, he kind of just. He has a way of turning off in a weird way that you don't usually see from superstars, but like it happens to him where he'll go like long possessions and he's way too okay with deferring to like Dennis or Austin and being like, no, give me the damn ball. That should be his like mentality. But you're right. He does wax and wane between that. But I mean, like in that 2020 run, he had that, right? There's like, he was like, Houston's guarding me with Daniel House. Give me the damn ball. Like there's no one else touching it. I'm shooting this one. Or like if they're switching on me, I'm attacking. Against Miami in the finals, did the same thing as well. Switched on to Jimmy Butler. So he has that in stretches. I agree. There's like, you would want more from that. That may just not be like in his game, like in terms of what he wants to do. Like he's not a guy that's going to be like, okay, I missed my last 2 shots. I'm taking 8 more to see if I have it. Like that's not him. Like he's just not going to do that. He's going to play within the team game, and there's positives and negatives to that. You'd want a little bit more mentality in terms of that mentality, but he's still just an incredible player, and I'm hopeful that, you know, he's able to get a healthy season next year within that.
It's not just like taking 8 shots though. It's like getting to the line, you know, doing what you can and like and like getting yourself into a rhythm, putting yourself in a rhythm. And some nights it's just not going to happen, right? Sure. Everybody who has ever played basketball has bad nights shooting, but you know, you watch like the people that need to be like who were at the level that AD needs to be if you're going to compete against the Jokic's and even Jokic himself, right? If you know, if something isn't working, if your jumper isn't falling, I am backing people down and putting them in the basket and just turning over my left shoulder and putting in a jump hook that I have tried, that I've shot zillions of times over the course of my career, right? Like every great player will tell you that they had a go-to shot that put them in a pretty good rhythm, right? For Kobe, it was going there to the right elbow, swinging through, dribbling to his right, one dribble, elevating, turning over, and hitting that shot. And he would shoot that shot as many times as he had to before he got himself into a rhythm. And if that wasn't working, he would pump fake and he would get himself to the free throw line to then see the ball go through the basket, right? And I'm just waiting for and look, 80 turned 30. So like I want to see that mentality kick in. That mentality of like, you know, like never having to be reminded you have all the physical advantages out there. Not having to be reminded that like you can go around Jokic and dunk on him. Like you can jump over Aaron Gordon. You could go through Michael Porter Jr. and Bruce Brown. Like not having to be told that, because like from what I heard today, LeBron was like in the huddle, like reminding him like, hey man, we got to get you going. We got to get going. It's fucking 3-0, man. Like you got to get going. And yeah, I want to see that kind of happen here.
Yeah, and through all that, I think we should just, if we have time, discuss this quick Chris Haynes tweet that just dropped a bomb on the timeline. Chris Haynes tweeted, breaking Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James is unsure he'll be with the team when 2023-24 season starts in fall, and retirement is under consideration, league sources tell NBA on TNT. So, that changes a lot.
All right, I'm just going to go Los Angeles Lakers star LeBron James is uncertain if he'll be with the team when the 2023-23 blah, blah, blah. LeBron has a lot to weigh. Sources say LeBron said that, Chris. James is expected to take his time in deciding if he'll return for 21. He has 2 years, $97 million left on his contract, but the final year is a player option. This blockbuster revelation comes after the Lakers were swept by the Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Finals on Monday night. After 20 years, blah, blah, blah. Through the season, LeBron has discussed a strong desire to play in the NBA with Bronny, his oldest son, who is a projected member of the 2024 draft class. James, who was still effective this season, earning a spot on the All-NBA. Yeah, there's not. It's nothing here.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not like I'm at the end of the thing. On the year, 38-year-old, 19-time All-Star, averaged 28.9 points, 8.3 rebounds, and 6.8 assists per contest, ultimately landing the Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. Entering the 2023 offseason, Los Angeles has $29.6 million in practical cap space per Spotrac. There isn't much long-term money on LA's books, with only 6 players officially contracted for the 2023-24 season, including James Davis. Like, this is literally a summary of the quote that LeBron gave.
I guess it's just the headline, I guess, from Chris Haynes putting out, considering retirement. But yeah. Wow.
I don't know. Harrison is tweeting that he thinks that's like the first domino and like convinced me to come back by going out and getting Kyrie. I don't know if I necessarily agree. It's the exact quote that LeBron gave, point by point by point, with different phrasing. So,
yeah,
I don't know. Maybe I have to read more into it or whatever, but I think it's kind of a nothing sandwich there. But anyway, wouldn't be the Lakers if there wasn't that excitement at the very end of this podcast. So for those of you who are still with us, and a lot of you are, an hour and a half into this thing, thank you very much for tuning in. That was Raj Chapalu. I am Anthony Irwin. After this, I'm going to record a lowdown. I'm probably going to break this up into 2 episodes here as well. So a ton of stuff for you guys heading into tomorrow. And I will get with a guest to further kind of recap the season and look ahead to this upcoming one. And yeah, until then, Raj, I do got to thank you a ton for signing up to do these post game after all of these games and staying up late and all this stuff. I do really appreciate it. This has been an absolute blast. If you want to check out Raj's stuff, check him out on All Access Lakers when they have their shows going. Check him out on those spaces with Vinay. Mm-hmm. Is it Vinay Killam? Mm-hmm. So you can check out that stuff. And then I am working my ass off to get to a point where I can bring Raj on here officially moving forward as well. So thank you a ton, bud. This has been an absolute blast.
Thank you, man. This has been fun. I wish it went a little bit longer, but I guess it
was the show.
No, no,
Fuck.
no. I could do another 2 hours for sure. No, I wish the season went a little bit longer, but this was a lot of fun. A blast to do these after every game and react to it. And it's been more, wins than losses. So it was a lot of fun doing these.
All right, everybody. So that is going to do it here. Again, plenty of stuff to get you guys through these finals. I'm going to find some fun ways to cover those series as well. And then again, as we just apparently found out, it's going to be a fascinating offseason, even beyond the stuff that Raj and I already covered. So until tomorrow, or a couple hours, or a couple minutes, whenever it is that you tune into us again, I'm Anthony Irwin saying have a good one.